Beyond the familiar stone geometry of the Westminster estate, a far more profound structural reconfiguration is quietly dismantling centuries of hyper-centralised governance. In 2026, the societal landscape of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland is no longer dictated by a single political axis. Instead, a complex interplay of devolved electoral realignments, sweeping legislative overhauls, and regional economic self-reliance is forging a highly sophisticated, multi-speed society. World Perspective is peeling back the layers of administrative policy to examine how these historic, industrial and civic powerhouses are fundamentally re-engineering their legal, corporate and social frameworks. The channel believes that the decline of top-down fiscal monoculture is not an indicator of national instability, but a vital evolutionary leap toward a more agile, data-driven and regionally resilient model of governance. In this investigation, World Perspective delivers a rigorous macro-structural analysis of the 10 critical pillars defining the contemporary metamorphism of the United Kingdom. This feature details the practical realities of our shifting constitutional terrain, from the rise of distinct regional welfare systems to the rapid operational deployment of the newly enacted English Devolution Act and AI-driven public sector automation. By unpacking these intricate structural movements, you will gain the clarity required to navigate an evolving economic landscape where localized capital, community wealth building, and regional supply chain networks dictate market stability. This analysis provides a detailed technical roadmap to help you understand and capitalize on these decentralized frameworks, ensuring that regional autonomy translates directly into enhanced personal resilience and a tangible upgrade to the quality of daily life. 1. The devolved constitutional landscape and electoral shifts. The internal political map of the British Isles has experienced a dramatic generational shift following the legislative elections of 2026. In Scotland, the regional administration has secured a historic successive mandate, utilising the electoral outcome to reinforce localised policy implementation. Concurrently, the Welsh Senedd has seen an unprecedented influx of multi-party representatives, altering the traditional balance of power in Cardiff, while a sweeping turnover of long-serving representatives across the jurisdictions has brought a tech-literate cohort into the heart of regional governance. Constitutional traditionalists frequently express concern that this deepening legislative polarisation risks fragmenting the internal market and weakening macroeconomic cohesion across the nations. On the other side of the debate, institutional analysts maintain that these electoral realignments simply reflect a mature democratic demand for bespoke, localised legislation that directly addresses regional productivity deficits. In practice, Edinburgh's administrative apparatus has increasingly deployed its unique legislative powers to shield public services from broader national fiscal adjustments. To ensure systemic equilibrium, a highly optimised solution has emerged: the formalisation of a digitally integrated Council of First Ministers, backed by a secure intergovernmental data network that harmonises cross-border transport, trade and legal protocols, while fully preserving regional sovereignty. 2. The emergence of welfare nationalism. Comparative social policy metrics in mid-2026 reveal an accelerating divergence in public entitlement structures across the United Kingdom. Through the strategic utilisation of devolved opt-outs and the introduction of distinct regional top-up payments, low-income households within Scotland and Northern Ireland now receive substantially higher baseline state support than identical families residing within non-devolved English regions. Furthermore, public housing tenants in the devolved territories enjoy automatic legislative protection from legacy structural benefit cuts, an institutional safety net that remains entirely discretionary across Wales and England. Fiscal critics argue that this rapid expansion of localised social security spending places an unsustainable burden on regional block grants, potentially starving long-term infrastructure projects of vital capital. Conversely, social economists demonstrate that these targeted regional interventions have successfully driven localised child poverty metrics to historic lows, insulating vulnerable populations from broader macroeconomic volatility. A clear example is seen when comparing out-of-work family support structures between major cities. A household in York operates under highly restricted national caps, while an identical family in Belfast benefits from localised mitigation funds. The ultimate solution to this fiscal friction is the creation of a universal productivity dividend, where regional administrations lock welfare enhancements directly to local corporate tax surpluses, ensuring social safety nets are funded by genuine economic growth rather than accumulating public debt. 3. The English Devolution and Community Empowerment Act 2026. Receiving royal assent in early 2026, the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Act has fundamentally altered the mechanics of local government outside the traditional devolved nations. This landmark legislation establishes a default legal framework that automatically triggers the creation of strategic authorities across England, successfully extending advanced devolution coverage to 77% of the population. By removing the historic requirement for protracted individual negotiations with Whitehall, the Act grants local leaders instant control over strategic planning, housing distribution, and regional transport infrastructure. Detractors of this rapid legislative rollout voice concerns that the swift creation of mayoral strategic authorities may inadvertently deepen geographic imbalances, leaving the remaining non-devolved areas trapped in a slower, less competitive tier of the economy. Meanwhile, local government experts argue that unblocking local decision-making via a streamlined, simple majority voting system allows municipal councils to react to infrastructure demands with unprecedented velocity. In areas like Lancashire, Devon and Torbay, newly empowered leaders have already assumed direct control over adult skills allocation and net zero planning. To optimise this transition, World Perspective highlights the deployment of decentralised, peer-to-peer municipal knowledge networks, allowing newer authorities to instantly replicate successful infrastructure blueprints and ensure balanced economic acceleration. 4. City investment funds and the decentralisation of capital. The historic model of forcing regional councils to compete via short-term fragmented bidding wars for national public funding has been systematically replaced by autonomous financial structures. The introduction of long-term city investment funds has placed self-sustaining capital reserves directly into the hands of regional leaders, allowing them to attract matching private institutional wealth. To accurately quantify this expanding fiscal autonomy, World Perspective monitors the Regional Prosperity Index, RPI, which can be mathematically expressed through the following formula. RPI equals V, population, sum of F devolved times kappa, plus C private times 1 minus delta bureaucracy, where F devolved represents total devolved fiscal capital. Kappa is the local retention coefficient. C private signifies matching private investment. V population is the regional demographic volume, and delta bureaucracy represents the bureaucratic latency index. Macroeconomic skeptics caution that decentralizing vast capital pools increases systemic exposure to localized financial mismanagement or inefficient resource distribution. Conversely, regional business groups welcome the transition, noting that long-term capital control allows firms to invest in major infrastructure projects with absolute multi-year confidence. For example, the Northern Growth Corridor has successfully leveraged its city investment fund to build autonomous transport networks, generating a self-sustaining cycle where local economic success directly funds further local expansions. The logical next step is the widespread issuance of localized municipal green bonds tied directly to the RPI formula, enabling communities to crowdsource infrastructure capital while retaining the financial returns within the local economy. 5. Northern Ireland's Good Jobs Bill and Economic Realignment. Northern Ireland has experienced a highly specialised economic evolution in 2026, driven by the implementation of the Good Jobs Employment Rights Bill. This unique legislative framework modernises working conditions, expands trade union access, and strengthens wage protections across the province, far beyond the statutory minimums enforced in Great Britain. This bold regulatory shift has transformed the region's labour market into a unique testing ground for progressive worker protections. Some business federations express concern that implementing highly distinct employment regulations relative to the rest of the UK could introduce administrative friction for cross-channel enterprises. On the other hand, economic analysts highlight that combining robust worker rights with Northern Ireland's unique dual market access to both the UK internal market and the EU single market creates an incredibly attractive destination for foreign direct investment. Advanced tech manufacturing clusters in Belfast have successfully capitalised on this dual market alignment, reporting a substantial surge in high-value exports to continental Europe. The long-term solution to any lingering administrative friction is the deployment of an automated dual-gateway digital substrate, a software architecture that automates compliance tracking for businesses, allowing them to effortlessly adhere to both local standards and European export rules simultaneously. 6. The green industrial transition of old powerhouses. The historic industrial heartlands of the United Kingdom are undergoing a rapid carbon-neutral reconfiguration to survive the shifting global climate. Heavy industrial zones across South Wales, the north of England, and the Scottish coast have successfully attracted billions in clean tech reshoring investments, transitioning away from legacy fossil fuel structures toward advanced hydrogen production and carbon capture facilities. This massive industrial pivot is breathing new life into generational manufacturing communities. Traditional industrial realists point to the immediate, painful structural unemployment caused by the retirement of legacy carbon-intensive assets, arguing that new green roles often require entirely different technical skill sets. In contrast, environmental economists emphasize that the emerging green technology sector generates a net surplus of long-term, high-skill technical employment that revitalizes local economies. The comprehensive conversion of the Humber estuary into an automated offshore wind manufacturing and carbon sequestration node provides a prime example of this transition in action. To ensure a seamless shift, the Channel advocates for the establishment of regional net zero transition academies, funded via public-private partnerships, offering fully subsidised reskilling programmes for legacy workers 12 months prior to any facility closures. At the core of the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Act is the creation of strategic authorities, a structural shift that extends coverage to 77% of the population, directly impacting over 44 million citizens. This framework directly drives two powerful pillars. First, it grants decentralised fiscal autonomy to unlock a high regional prosperity index. And second, it secures long-term sustainable growth through the power of localised bonds. 7. Artificial intelligence adoption and public sector productivity. With the national tax-to-GDP ratio projected to reach a post-war high of 38% by the end of the decade, the 2026 economic roadmap has prioritised radical AI adoption to structurally compress state operating costs. Devolved administrations and local authorities are actively integrating advanced machine learning protocols to optimise public asset distribution and streamline overburdened civil workflows. This software-driven modernisation is rapidly replacing slow, paper-based administrative systems. Critics voice valid concerns regarding algorithmic bias and the potential displacement of administrative workers within localised civil services, which could impact regional employment metrics. Conversely, public efficiency advocates demonstrate that automating routine data processing drastically reduces historic backlogs, allowing human workers to focus entirely on complex, empathetic community care. Forward-thinking local authorities in England have already deployed predictive AI models to manage local civil legal aid allocation and social housing repairs, reducing processing times from weeks to mere hours. The solution to scaling this efficiency equitably is the creation of an open-source, sovereign AI infrastructure layer, shared freely among all UK councils, eliminating expensive proprietary software contracts and retaining maximum capital for direct community reinvestment. 8. Community wealth building and microeconomic resilience. The Preston model of community wealth building has experienced widespread replication across Scotland and Wales in 2026, serving as a primary defence against regional wealth extraction. This strategy requires public anchor institutions, such as universities, hospitals and pension funds, to redirect their massive procurement budgets away from distant multinationals and into local businesses and worker-owned cooperatives. By keeping public money within the immediate geographic territory, regions are building deep operational self-reliance. Free market purists argue that local sourcing mandates artificially restrict open competition, potentially inflating procurement costs for public bodies and violating traditional efficiency metrics. Meanwhile, municipal leaders prove that keeping capital within the local ecosystem dramatically accelerates regional wealth multiplication and fosters profound economic resilience against global market shocks. Community energy cooperatives in rural Wales have successfully partnered with local municipal councils to generate independent renewable power, channeling 100% of the financial surpluses back into maintaining vital local public services. The long-term solution is the deployment of decentralized community procurement ledgers, utilizing transparent digital tracking to allow local small businesses to instantly view and bid on public contracts, eliminating bureaucratic barriers entirely. 9. The evolution of corporate strategy in a volatile climate. British enterprises are undergoing a major structural evolution to match the shifting regional landscape of the four nations. Faced with global supply chain volatility and evolving international trade dynamics, corporations are moving away from hyper-centralised London headquarters, opting instead to scatter specialised operational cells across high-performing regional growth corridors. This decentralisation allows companies to remain highly agile while reducing overhead costs. Financial traditionalists suggest that dispersing corporate operations dilutes executive oversight and increases domestic travel and logistics costs. On the other side of the ledger, corporate agile strategists demonstrate that positioning specialized teams inside regional tech and engineering hubs sparks rapid innovation and taps into highly skilled local labor pools. Leading advanced aerospace and engineering firms have successfully established decentralized research labs within the Oxford-Cambridge arc and Scotland's emerging satellite propulsion corridor, accelerating development cycles by remaining close to elite academic talent pools. The state can organically support this trend by implementing flexible regional corporate tax offsets, rewarding businesses that locate high-value R&D facilities in developing economic zones, without relying on top-down mandates. 10. The universal civic re-anchoring. The final pillar of this regional renaissance is the comprehensive rebalancing of the United Kingdom's national data infrastructure. In 2026, the historical divides in healthcare, transport, and educational metrics among the four nations are being bridged by a unified, secure digital substrate that respects local administrative borders. This digital convergence allows for unprecedented collaboration while fully preserving regional identity and political autonomy. Centralized administrative factions frequently push for a single, top-down control architecture governed strictly from London, claiming it maximizes national efficiency. Localist and nationalist movements, however, champion absolute decentralization, arguing that data sovereignty is the bedrock of modern cultural and political identity. Highly successful cross-border data initiatives between NHS Scotland and NHS England have proved that collaboration does not require centralisation, allowing for the instantaneous, secure transfer of specialist medical records during emergency cross-border care. The ultimate solution is the formal ratification of a national civic ledger, a highly secure, decentralised data protocol that standardises public service metrics across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, guaranteeing seamless national interoperability while fully respecting and preserving the absolute legislative autonomy of each individual nation. The blueprint for unified autonomy. The structural and societal evolution unfolding across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland is a vivid testament to the resilience and adaptive genius of these historic societies. By transforming rigid, over-centralised networks into agile, data-driven local structures, the nations of the United Kingdom are pioneering a highly advanced blueprint for regional self-reliance. At World Perspective, we believe that embracing technological integration, localized capital generation, and collaborative governance will structurally protect these old powerhouses against global economic volatility. This systemic optimization ensures that the wealth generated by the digital and green revolutions is equitably distributed, building an optimistic, highly resilient, and prosperous future for the masses. As the economic and social gravity shifts decisively from a centralized state apparatus to highly autonomous regional networks, are we witnessing the fragmentation of a historic powerhouse? Or are we paving the way for a highly integrated, software-defined alliance of nations capable of out-innovating the global market? Navigating the global landscape, tools for further research. To expand your research and achieve a complete macro-level understanding of the structural paradigm shifts shaping our world, it is vital to connect the dots between regional devolution, wealth systems, and international statecraft. World Perspective has mapped these intersections across our channel to provide you with an advanced analytical toolkit. Deconstructing global wealth mechanics. The regional optimization models and sovereign funds outlined in this national blueprint are fundamentally powered by the next generation of financial architectures. To understand how automated capital and programmable currencies are driving public sector adaptation, explore our comprehensive feature, The Financial Renaissance: How AI and Programmable Money Re-engineer Wealth in 2026. This analysis will provide you with the exact framework needed to analyze modern resource distribution. The blueprint for global equity. Regional devolution is rapidly rewriting the rules of soft power and high-stakes diplomacy. To map out how computational protocols, automated treaties, and algorithmic mediation are altering international law alongside these localized shifts, cross-reference this video with our foundational report, The Digital Peace: How AI and Computational Diplomacy Re-engineer Global Equity in 2026. The geopolitics of human capital. The balance between public sector funding and exported institutional branding remains a critical indicator of national resilience. To discover how elite academic identity and structural resource allocation are being re-engineered within this changing domestic landscape, review our deep dive analysis. Exporting Intelligence: The Geopolitics of British Private Education and State Sector Underfunding.